Now, I have had a lot of requests to cover this game, and a lot of you guys have been highly anticipating it. So many of you that when I logged into the server, there was a login queue of over 800 people on the 4th server, not the 1st, not the 2nd, the 4th server. But I mean, let's be real here. If you can make a character that looks this good, it stands to reason as to why, right? And there are multiple classes that look this good available to choose from. Well, I mean, maybe not this good. I did create this all on my own after all. Now, before jumping into the game, do let me preface this real quick by stating that Nexon reached out to me ahead of time and asked if I would be interested in taking a sponsored look at the game. I said, yeah, obviously, as this is the type of game that this channel is built for. So with this in mind, if you're interested in downloading and trying out V4 on either PC or mobile devices, as yes, this is a completely cross-platform compatible MMORPG, go ahead and click that link in the description and the pinned comment. You'll be taken right to the download for the game, and it'll support the channel both. Now let's talk about the game. There are 6 classes that you can choose from: the Warlord, the Slayer, the Knight, the Gunslinger, the Boomblade, and the Enchantress. Now, if you know me, which you guys should by now, you'll know that naturally I was going for the Enchantress. Not only does she look absolutely incredible, but she's a freaking mage. I get to explode people and fly around on my stave. What other reason could I possibly need to roll her? Character creation is very, very good. I was a little surprised by the amount of customization options I had over my character. I created my typical light-haired, blue-eyed beauty, as I always do, and she turned out incredibly, like they always do. One thing worth noting is that you actually have control over everything. Yeah, her head size, her facial structure, and the most important assets as well, obviously. Yeah. You're all welcome for that. Now, after creating your character, you're greeted by a pretty sick opening cinematic where you're introduced to the main cast of characters as your group goes up against a giant dragon. And then bam, you're in game. And my god, if my character isn't the most adorable character you have ever seen, right? Right? Oh, also, while we're zoomed into my character, I would like to note that the gear you obtain in-game actually changes the physical appearance of your character, meaning that all the new gear has its own unique visual appearance. This is something that I appreciate having in games, as I am of the opinion that when you obtain gear, it should look different. Otherwise, what is the point, you know? As I mentioned earlier, V4 is a fully cross-platform MMORPG. It just launched onto PC, and that is what I played the game on. But at the same time, the game launched simultaneously on mobile devices as well, allowing players to choose their platform of choice. This is, interestingly, the direction that I feel the genre is moving. We're getting more and more cross-platform MMORPGs as time moves forward. Thankfully, from what I played through, V4 has quite an emphasis on story. And you guys know that I love story in my games. They're the driving force behind me maintaining interest in them. If the story sucks, or if there is a lack of story, then I will not be entertained, and I will stop playing. So seeing V4 put such a large emphasis on story was promising. The characters from the intro cinematic actually held importance to the story, and each of them would appear throughout the story as it continued to unfold. Combat is an interesting blend of auto-target and action combat. Regardless of which you prefer, it's worth noting that V4 has some incredibly flashy spell effects. I only played through the Enchantress, and as such my experience is exclusively limited to her, but I had flaming tornadoes, I had literal glacial ruptures in the ground. Not just that, but after accumulating enough of the resource, you can actually enter this incredibly powerful, badass looking demon hunter form that not only buffs your statistics, but also provides you with new abilities, making you an unstoppable killing machine. The areas you find in game though are actually pretty beautiful, honestly. I'm not gonna lie, I hadn't played V4 on mobile prior to their launch on a PC, but even if I had, I wouldn't have expected it to end up looking visually as good as it ultimately ended up looking. Color me impressed. The rivers, the forests, the mountains, the environments were just so much larger than I had anticipated and not at all linear. Interestingly enough, during story scenarios, your team would accompany you into battle. This is a very unique feature, something that I had not experienced before, and honestly, it was pretty cool. The characters I had spent recruiting over the first few hours of the game actually had a purpose. Although I didn't get to experience experienced it due to wanting to get this video out as soon as I possibly could, I would like to note that V4 is a PvPvE game, or it is within certain zones. While the core of the game is PvE oriented, and there are PvP modes, one specific zone, Lunacha, allows for players to openly engage in PvPvE content. You'll be out in the field, fighting monsters, fighting other players, and tackling large-scale bosses that takes hundreds of players to take down due to their sheer difficulty. Now, there is a lot to do in V4. There are a lot of options that have varying impacts on your stats, on your abilities, upgrading via the workshop, imprinting, the potential feature, gear. It's a lot of micromanaging, but it provides a plethora of things to do, and that is never a bad thing. Ultimately, I feel like V4 is a pretty good port of a mobile MMORPG onto PC. I actually took the time to play through so many hours of it today as opposed to rushing it. V4 is a fully cross-platform compatible MMORPG, allowing players to toggle auto pathing and auto combat, but from what I've seen in my experience, auto combat will probably get you killed during boss encounters, as it actually requires responsive reactions to events that are going on. Graphically, it looks pretty damn good for a game built on mobile first and then ported over to PC. Better than plenty of titles available on PC right now. These graphics were definitely not something that I was expecting to see. Again, if V4 is an MMO that you are interested in trying, if this is a game that piques your interest, I urge you to use that link in the description and the pinned comment to hop on over and download the game. But this is my opinion, my impressions of the game. What do you guys think though? Does this look like something you're interested in? Have you tried it out? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below and let's talk about it. Anyway guys, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this and I'll see you all next time.
Peace.